No one saw this coming. We have multiple shocking reports coming out from the New York Jets today, as the New York Jets team now looks a bit different, on top of the fact that Darren Mougey made some very under-the-radar moves, which has set the Jets up well after something that clearly did not work out for the team, and we are going to break everything down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And if you guys are part of that 68% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, make sure to subscribe to Jets Digest right now for all the great New York Jets content that we got. But let's jump into the video. There's a lot to discuss, starting with the fact that no one saw this one coming today. Matt, I was just at the gym doing my thing, and all of a sudden I check Twitter, and none other than Jordan Travis. Is there an update that none of us thought was coming? We all figured the next Jordan Travis update would be that he's healthy. Nope. Jordan Travis has retired from the NFL and from football entirely after being unable to come back from that gruesome ankle injury that he suffered, where he both fractured and dislocated his ankle. Now, Travis was drafted by the New York Jets, as we know, in the 5th round, and was viewed as a guy that if he could come back, maybe potentially could be able to work things out well, as he was 5th in Heisman voting in his final year in college, and also saw some success there at Florida State. On top of everything, Jets fans were very interested in Travis, who was not healthy all season long. They tried to get him back. He ended up seeing a setback and never got cleared for contact for the Jets. And then now it's official. He has retired from football now. Travis put out a statement saying, "On November 18th, 2023, my life took an unexpected turn. I gave everything I had to the rehab process, but despite all my efforts, my leg never responded the way we hoped. After much prayer and consultation with the doctors, medical experts, and my agent, I've been medically advised to retire from the game I love so deeply." So Travis officially announcing he will be retired from the Jets, being added onto the retired list. And Darren Mougey, despite not drafting him, did put out a nice statement saying, "Jordan has informed us of his intent to retire due to injury he sustained while at Florida State. It is unfortunate that he was unable to get back on the field after working so hard. We support him in his decision and wish him only the best." Now, Jordan Travis was not someone, Matt, that necessarily you or I were super high on at any point. We both didn't believe Travis was going to really end up seeing much time with the New York Jets on the field, if any, especially after Joe Douglas got fired and a new regime was brought in. It felt like Travis was never really going to find his footing in the NFL, and unfortunately, he just was unable to get back from the injury. Very, very weird situation here. Not even weird, just very unexpected situation. Super unfortunate. Hopefully, Jordan Travis is able to find some peace and move on from football and still maybe somehow be involved in football in some sense or another.
Yep. Definitely, wishing the best for this guy. Wish it could have been better, but talking about what it was from a football decision, it's a lesson in, you got to be careful when it comes to selecting players with bad injuries going in the draft. Yes, they're going to go later in the draft because when they have these horrible injuries, teams are going to be scared to draft them, but sometimes it is, the fear of drafting that player is sometimes warranted, and that's what it was in this case, unfortunately. I know a lot of our commenters want to see Jordan Travis work out as the future of the New York Jets, but we've been saying for a long time, with the injury combined with just everything that goes into turning Jordan Travis into a fifth round picks historically don't work out in the NFL. Over 90% of fifth round picks or later quarterbacks don't work out in the NFL. The hit rate on that type of draft pick is really, really low. That's why we like that Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey did not take that shot in this current year's draft. But obviously, this is not what anyone wants to see today. This is not the way that we were expecting Jordan Travis to not work out. Of course, this was always a possibility when you have an injury that is that bad. It's always a possibility that no matter how much work you put in, it's just not enough. Sometimes the words that he said was, his body just was not reacting the right way to the treatments and to what he was doing, which sucks to hear because, Chris, I know you've had bad lower leg injuries, obviously not this bad, but, when you are going to physical therapy, when you're doing all that work to get back to playing the game that you love to play, you want to be able to be rewarded for the work that you put in. And it sucks that Jordan Travis is not going to have that opportunity. Although, just like we said, hoping he can go ahead and find just find someone else, find something else he can do. Whether it can still be football related, maybe it's not playing football. Well, it's definitely not going to be playing football, but it can still be football related, and he can still stay around the game that he's grown up playing, the game that he loves.
Yeah, absolutely tough situation. Again, not I did not have as bad of an injury, and I was doing physical therapy. Well, first of all, I just had to for reasons of dislocating my kneecap. But on top of it, it's a rough situation. I can't imagine what it's like for this to be your career and to basically be told, hey, you're not allowed to participate in what you've seen as your career for years and years on end because you hurt your leg. And so that it sucks. I do hope the Jets can figure out something to do with Jordan Travis, like put him in some sort of role with the team or something. I wouldn't be shocked to see them doing that. We do see that quite often with players who don't really get a chance because of injuries and situations that are sort of out of their control. So we'll see what happens there. As you said, though, overall, and I mean, it sucks to put it like this because it's nothing against Jordan Travis at all. Objectively, this is another situation where we looked at one of the reasons why Joe Douglas got fired is he didn't hit in those mid to later rounds. This is not new, and I mean, with Travis, it's a completely different situation than everyone else, but at the end of the day, once again, like, we look at this Jets regime, and something that had to change was these mid to late round picks. There needs to be more hits. Joe Douglas did not have any, so it is really, really just like, I don't know. It feels like that last bit of like the former Joe Douglas regime. I know there's a ton of players on the team like Sauce, Garrett, all that, but when Douglas got fired for all the reasons why he got fired, this feels like that kind of final chapter of that situation. However, where the Jets stand, they still have two quarterbacks on the roster who were ahead of Fields, or ahead of Travis, being Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor. So that's interesting to see. Do we think they'll bring another quarterback on? Usually teams prefer to just have two on the roster anyway, so I feel like we'll see that to a degree.
Yeah, so we're allowed to have two quarterbacks, the starter, the backup, and then an emergency quarterback who doesn't count against our 53-man roster. So they will, without a doubt, have an emergency quarterback. For the preseason, there will be probably at least four quarterbacks working out. We know one of them is going to be Brady Cook, the undrafted free agent out of Missouri. And I imagine the fourth one could be Adrian Martinez coming back and giving it another run with the Jets. I think if I was putting money down, I'd say he is more likely to beat out Brady Cook for that emergency quarterback role. But Chris, I know, we talk about how these late round draft picks are a waste of pick usually, but it sounds like maybe the Jets got some more picks back pretty recently here.
Well, that's the thing. Joe Douglas is out. Darren Mougey is in. OBS wants me to update my computer. Glad that popped up on the screen right there. But look, where things stand right now, the Jets do have some more selections now. As the Jet Press mentioned, with this week marking the official deadline for transactions that impact the NFL's compensatory pick formula, the Jets are now projected to receive 3 comp picks in the 2026 NFL Draft, including a 4th-round selection tied directly to Hassan Reic's departure. In total, the Jets are projected to receive a 4th-round pick and 2 7th-rounders in next year's draft based on the latest projections from Over the Cap. Those picks won't officially be announced until next March, but with the cap formula now locked in, the Jets can confidently plan on having 3 extra selections, one of which came from flipping a total failure into future capital. So not the worst situation there. Obviously, we have not seen what a Darren Mougey late round draft pick looks like. The success rate, we don't have a sample size at all because you can go and look at the Denver Broncos if you want, but he wasn't the final decision maker. The way he is now, the Darren Mougey is the final decision maker. The New York Jets, obviously, the Hassan Reic situation did not go the way anyone wanted it to. When they brought him in, it felt like an exciting move to add to an exciting team with a bunch of veterans and one of the best rosters in football. None of that worked out. Hassan Reic held out, did some old folks home scam thing at the same time, threatened people. It was a really weird situation for Hassan Reic. I yelled at him on NBA 2K when we ended up playing against each other, and he blocked me, and then I felt bad. It was a weird situation. But look, where things stood for Hassan Reic last year, he just did not have a good season once he came back. He had 1 sack, he had 9 solo tackles, and he also forced a fumble, but it wasn't necessarily a good season for Reic, a guy who wanted top-tier edge rusher money. He did not get that. He's on a 1-year contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. As we said, this is what was going to happen. He overvalued himself, and he put himself basically into that head case role of now you're going to have to prove yourself next year. And even so, you're going to be 2 years older than you were when you were looking for that extension. You're not going to be getting that 4 or 5 years for getting that average of 25 plus million. So Hassan Reic seemingly made a misstep. Meanwhile, Darren Mougey did a great job at cleaning that up, and he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what you mean by that last line, but Joe Douglas, this comp pick was without a doubt factoring into his idea to trade a conditional third round pick for Hassan Reddick, where
Whoops.
he knew that if Hassan Reddick did not pay or didn't if Hassan Reddick did not re-sign with the Jets, he knew that the Jets would get credit towards a comp pick, so it was going to alleviate a little bit of the draft capital that they gave up to acquire him. Now, this move still an abject failure. I'm not
Yeah.
sitting here and pretending like it wasn't. Of course it was a mistake. But it isn't as bad as it, looked, just at the surface level. I know some smart people were saying that this was always a part of it, that we were going to get a comp pick should Hassan Reddick walk, because he plays edge rusher. He has a history of putting up really good production. So they knew he was going to get paid, sign a lot of money in free agency. And the way comp picks work, the more money the guy gets paid in free agency, the more credit, the higher a draft pick you get credit for a comp pick. So these picks will be given to us at the end of the fourth round. I'm not sure how they do the order of the comp picks, but it's going to be after all the real fourth round picks. So after, pick 32 in the fourth round, that's when they start doing the comp picks. So it's gonna be a deep pick. Definitely not so deep that Aaron Glenn isn't going to be able to find a starting player, but deep enough to where the player's not going to be guaranteed to turn into anything for the New York Jets.
No, for sure not. And I think it comes back to trying to figure out, or, well, really not even trying to figure out, more just seeing what it's going to look like when Darren Mougey sort of has this kind of just experience and basically seeing, I don't know why I'm dancing around it in a weird way. Essentially, it's a matter of if Darren Mougey's late picks are going to hit. So we're going to learn on that very, very soon. Best of luck to Jordan Travis and all future endeavors. You got fans at Jets Digest. And Matt wants to be your friend, and he doesn't stop sending you letters, so make sure to respond to those. We saw what happened when Eminem didn't respond to Stan in time, so that's all I'm going to say. Guys, like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.